Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Superheroes of Arabia Live. Joining me is our regular contributor, son of Sparda. In this month's live stream, we're going to be talking about a lot of developments that have taken shape in the world of superheroes, and a lot is going on at a very fast pace. The competition between the big two has intensified. So, just gonna start out with our discussion, and if you guys are expecting it to be a very short video, I can assure you this is going to be a really long one because we've got a lot of things to cover here. But before I bring in my esteemed guest and the regular contributor to Son of Jeddah and Superheroes of Arabia Live, I just wanted to give a shout out to Kinder Bueno. They recently have brought out this Tiny Toons Plucky Duck Bad Duck Mobile.
That is cute.
So if you are into Kinder stuff, you can check it out and you can see, so much detail is there. You can check out the rims. It has the bat insignia. It has that smile or smirk. Okay. And this life size version was displayed in last year's Warner Brothers event in Jeddah. So, Son of Sparda, once again, welcome and thank you for taking out the time to share great amount of detail with the community.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a while, but since we're showing off Batmobiles, in addition to figurines that I collect, I also collect 1/18 scale cars, and I don't
Right.
have the complete collection with me here. Again, I tend to have some things in storage, but what I do have one of the Batmobiles. I have the most recent Batman movie Batmobile from the Batman movie. There we go. This is
Really?
1/8 scale. It lights up, has the front lights. I don't know how well that's showing. Oh, why did it change color? I just noticed that. So
Amazing, man. That's
yep.
beautiful.
I believe the hood opens up. Yeah, there we go. Some lights in the back also, I think. Oh, I think the battery might be a little weak, but there's supposed to be lights up here in the back as well, somewhere around here. But amazing.
Amazed with the attention
Some
to
really
detail,
nice
man.
details on this. So yeah, man. Oh, I wonder if there's a different setting for. Oh, here we go. This is on. So yeah, here's the complete lights. There we go.
Beautiful.
So that's the back of it. This is the front with the red light. That's how it's supposed to be.
Like it.
Yep. The doors open up. You can see the inside. Lots of details. I love when, again, this is a scale that isn't too common nowadays. They don't make a lot of cars, but in storage, I also have the 89 Batmobile and the Tumbler. That's it. Oh, some companies releasing the same scale, a 1/18 scale of I believe the Batman Forever Batmobile, and I might be getting that one. We'll
Yes.
see.
Yes. That has been announced. I believe I think McFarlane has already released it.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Now, just to let you guys know, you have to hang in there with us all the way till the end because we have a really huge announcement concerning Batman Day here in Jeddah. So just stick around. And you've just heard a Son of Sparda talking about his collection for Batmobile cars. So there is something that's going to be revealed a bit later in this live stream. Now, first up is something which was long overdue. We had a super fantastic summer. We did our last month's live broadcast where we talked about the two blockbusters. I will call both of them blockbusters because they have made a good amount of money in light of the fact that now, streaming is taking over when it comes to box office earnings. But we didn't get the chance to discuss the intricate details of both movies, that what made these movies great and what didn't. So, Son of Sparda, I would like you to take the lead on this. Let's start out with Superman.
Sure. I do have a question first. I feel like we need to answer. Again, we had
Please.
really amazing movies this year, like you said. Let me ask you, what movie were you most looking forward to coming into the month of July? And coming out of the month of July, which one do you feel delivered the most out of Fantastic Four and Superman?
I would say Superman
You're
because
excited the most for Superman.
I was excited the most for Superman. Why? Because I was since 2013, 2014, I've been really frustrated with what has been going on with DC and Warner Brothers. I'm a firm free market capitalist with a conscience who believes in healthy competition. And frankly speaking, that was like, for me, I was sort of becoming desperate, desperate in essence that I need to see this movie. I'm glad Superman was released before Fantastic Four, and I really wanted this movie to succeed because I, like many out there, wanted a healthy competition because superheroes are not being taken seriously in Hollywood, in America for the last decade or so. Superheroes, sadly, are not being taken seriously even here in Saudi Arabia, unlike the previous few years. So, yes. And then after watching both of the movies, which movie delivered more for me? I'm going to say again Superman because it has basically kickstarted the DC universe. This is like the Iron Man 2008, in my opinion. Okay, a lot of people might disagree with me, but for me, this is it's playing the same role as Iron Man did in 2008 to kickstart a new universe, an interconnected universe. The Fantastic Four, that does not mean that I didn't enjoy it. In fact, I am one of those people who agrees with one of a cinephiles, a local cinephile here in Saudi Arabia. He's from Jeddah. He has a strong following. His name is Saeed Munir. He said this is the biggest movie by Marvel, and I asked him, I mean, like, do you think it's bigger than uh, Endgame and Infinity War? I mean, not in terms of the story, the epic or something, but in terms of impact. He said, I believe that this is bigger than that. And I see his point because by the end of the day, this movie comes immediately after Superman when James Gunn is firmly in his seat and is now in a position to give Marvel a run for its money. Number one. Number two, that this movie, even though it's not kickstarting the Marvel Cinematic Universe, nevertheless, it is laying the foundation to bring in X-Men into the mainstream Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then, of course, Doctor Doom. So, but one thing that I just wanted to say is that for those of you who haven't read comics, you might have issues with the Fantastic Four movie. I don't, in every aspect, because this movie seemed like it was like Jack Kirby's art on screen. It was like Stan Lee's story on screen. They did justice with Fantastic Four. But if I who's the first amongst equal, I will say Super.
So
What about you?
I was most excited for Superman, and I gotta tell you, the first time I watched it, I mean, it didn't jive with me that much. It took me maybe on the second, maybe third viewing where I started to say, okay, this is a really good movie. Let's talk about Superman first in a little bit of detail. So I feel like the overlaying theme that James Gunn was trying to get along, that was, we see in some interviews that even David Cornsweet behind the scenes, he's trying, there are scenes between them in interviews and whatnot where Cornsweet is in costume and he's having discussions with James Gunn of how to get this message of what are you trying to get the character to say, and sort of it was the theme of Superman's humanity. He was raised on Earth, he is human. There was sort of a theme of also him being an immigrant that was did not come across favorably among a lot of people. There's a little back and forth going on in the world about that theme. And the purpose of this movie is to bring people to sort of on the same page of immigrants. And this hero that people have been looking up to for years and years is an immigrant. He came from a different planet. He was raised on Earth by wonderful people, by farmers, and he was raised to be a good human being. I felt like, there are a lot of very similar themes to a recent Superman cartoon show called My Adventures with Superman, where he had no idea about his origins for a very long time. And then there was a concern that his race of people were invaders. So they're very similar themes, but I feel like in the show, it's conveyed a little better that he's a good human being. He goes to the grocery store almost every day. He helps out the elderly couple who are running the store. Little things like that that I feel like maybe we're missing from the movie. I feel like a little few things could have been done to tell us he is a good person, other than him rescuing a squirrel and a dog. I feel like they tried their best to show us he's a good person. He was raised on Earth. He's a genuinely nice human being. I feel like they could have added in a few more scenes, and there are a couple of other things I feel like could have helped, but we'll talk about that later.
No, come on. I mean, you highlighted something really valuable here, and I would like you to continue on that.
Well, it's in relation to other scenes that we didn't get, and I feel like somewhere down the line, we're gonna get these scenes. The scene where Lois either finds out that Clark is Superman, because we never got that. I feel like that's integral to any version of these characters. We need to find out, did he tell her that he's Superman, or did she find out? And in every version, it's one or the other, right? Either she finds out or he confesses to her that he's Superman. Didn't get any of that. We just got, okay, they're in a relationship. She knows. Let's move on. But I feel like somewhere down the line, that's an important part for James Gunn to tell us. Was it one or the other? And how did it happen? I feel like we're going to get a flashback at some point. What else? We got a lot of supporting characters. We got Lois. We got Jimmy Olsen, who was apparently a ladies' man in this movie. We got the Justice Gang. We got Metamorpho. Man, I didn't imagine in a million years we get a good representation of Metamorpho. And I forget what his partner's name is, but we got his partner, the woman he marries or is going out with, is dating. And we got
his wife, Simon Stagg's daughter.
And it was hinted that that whole storyline took place. We got to see the Stagg Enterprises building at some point.
Right.
The effects of kryptonite on him were really interesting. It's not just a rock that makes him weak. It actually burns his skin when Metamorpho brought it up to him.
And poisons his veins. Poisons his veins.
I feel like that was nicely thought out. So at some point, I just have a couple of points written down, bullet points. So at some point, he completely abandoned, and you guys know we're going to get into spoilers here. He abandons his Kryptonian heritage, just completely. And I feel like that's a little bit of a similar theme to what happened in the Batman. You know, Bruce Wayne was questioning whether this is a mission he should continue with. If, the promise he made to his parents, that's not really something he should stick with. And it was the same with the show. Again, he thought his whole race were invaders. I feel like at some point down the line, and again, they said, that video, that was in fact the message, right, in the video. I feel like somewhere down the line, we're going to get, James gonna play around with that message. Either it was Zod, either Zod himself recorded that message, or Brainiac altered the message somehow. I feel like it can't be, because in every version, Jor-El was a good man. He fought for his people. He was in love with Kal-El's mother. I feel like for him to tell us, nope, all that is gone. Jor-El was a terrible person. He wanted Kal-El to come to Earth and rule the people of Earth. I'm just having a hard time accepting that. Like, somewhere down the line, because, man, they've completely erased everything that has to do with Krypton now. He doesn't want to have anything to do with his mother or father, with his planet. Nope, I'm done with that. If they want me to rule the Earth, nope, that's not who I am. I feel like at some point we're going to find out maybe that wasn't Jor-El. Something's going to happen. Yeah. Right? Don't you think that was important for him to actually know his father, for him to connect with his heritage? I feel like somewhere down the line, that's going to be fixed.
See, if I look into it from a very Smallville angle, this movie is a seed that has been planted, and a lot of the things that you mentioned were not explored or were not shown will be shown, and I'm sure of that. Why? Because if there is a director, I have tremendous confidence in his skill, his competency when it comes to superhero cinema. Right now, I have to say, despite my harshest criticism against his earlier productions like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and Volume 2, it's James Gunn. And
No, go ahead.
okay, so for me, the thing is like I'm not too worried and I'm not too anxious. Why? Because in James Gunn I trust wholeheartedly, and these will be explored as long as Warner Brothers as an organization, just lets him and Peter Safran do their job. The studio executives, the ROI seeking studio executives, do not put unnecessary pressure on them, which sadly has been sort of a culture when it comes to Warner. And we're going to be talking about Batman the Animated Series in the next few minutes. So I'm going to be shedding some light on this one
Well,
also,
here's the thing.
that how this series came about with all the pressures that were
Well,
involved. So yes,
here's the good thing about the current regime going on with DC. There is no higher power in terms of production value. James Gunn is the president of the studio, or he's the co-president along with Peter Safran. So he doesn't really have to answer to anyone. He has planted the next 10 years. And I feel fully confident in saying that he's been planting a lot of seeds in this movie. As fans, I feel like we can nitpick, but I'm sure he has a plan to further explore everything that was not explored in this movie.
okay. Now I'm gonna ask you a few things. Like for example, we saw multiple supervillains in this movie. We saw more than one superhero in this
Yep.
movie. So who was your top pick when it comes to the other superheroes and other supervillains?
Oh my goodness. So we got a supervillain within a supervillain within a supervillain. The Hammer of Bravia, or whatever that imaginary country was,
Hammer of Bravia
turned out to
yes.
be Ultraman, and Ultraman turned out to be
Yes.
Bizarro. I guess they never officially say it's Bizarro, but it's a clone of Superman. And I guess this will lead into a theory I have for Man of Tomorrow. Just in short, I'm going to say that there's going to be some sort of threat that forces Superman and Lex to team up.
Yes.
And I guess we'll get into that later. I don't want to go too much off topic. In terms of the villain, so we had Lex, we had the Engineer, and we had Ultraman / a bunch of other names.
Right.
Lex was, I feel like this was the most thought out version of Lex we've had in a very long time. This was a very complex character, and Nicholas Hoult has been a favorite actor of mine for a very long time. He was actually the highest paid actor in this movie, believe it or not. He has a very long resume. He has been Beast in the X-Men movies in First Class.
X-Men First Class.
And Days of Future Past as well. So he's been around for a while. He's been doing comic book movies for a while. He's no stranger to comic book movies. I love his portrayal because apparently he has this hatred for superheroes, but particularly Superman, because he has stolen the hearts and minds of the people of Metropolis. They all look up to him now. They've taken the attention away from him because he was known as the favorite son of Metropolis, and that is no longer the case with Superman around. And it got to the point where people in the control room were yelling at him, like, we have to shut this down. And he said, no, let the people die with their savior. And that's the moment where you go, oh my God, this guy has lost it. He genuinely wants people to die for looking up to this hero. So that is
for his own ego.
For his own ego, to please his ego. He doesn't want anyone favoring anyone but him. So that was a very complex villain that we got, and I feel like for the first time in a very long time, they got it right. They got this villain right. I don't think I've admired a portrayal of Lex since Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville. And granted, he did it for 7 years. Because he was Lex Luthor for 7 years.
Okay, after Lex, who's your top pick?
Well, I mean, I feel like it was interesting what we got with Ultraman / Bizarro / the Hammer. But at the same time, I feel like this villain could not function on his own, right? He needed instructions in order for him to carry out, even though I feel like he was the one who found out that Miss Tessmacher was in the server room / closet room talking to Jimmy. And I guess he got Lex and everyone else to go in and pull her out. So he does have some thought to himself, but at most of the fighting he couldn't do on his own. He needed someone in his ear to give him instructions. So when at some point Crypto took out all the cameras, he was helpless. He couldn't fight for himself. But the engineer, visually, she was cool. A lot of the effects, like her turning around and flipping around and doing her, it was very T-1000-esque, like the Terminator.
Yes.
She was the one who pulled the footage from the computers in the Fortress of Solitude. So that was very cool. I mean, it was 3 villains, and then we got the Raptors. They were henchmen. Coincidentally, one of them was voiced by Michael Rosenbaum. So that's a cool little Easter egg. What else? So in terms of heroes, it was very cool getting Guy Gardner for the first time in live action. I don't know. I don't think that's ever been done before.
Nah.
We got Hawkgirl. That was a very cool interpretation. Hawkgirl was a character that had the liberty to step outside the boundaries of the law, and she just takes matters into her own hands for a while. And I've heard James Gunn in one interview saying there will be repercussions for what she did. Mr. Terrific was very cool. I feel like he was a standout character for a little bit of the movie. He stole the spotlight for a little bit. He was on par. I feel like he was the official / unofficial representative of the Justice Gang. He took matters into his own hands. He walked out with Lois and said, "Hey, none of these guys want to help you. I'll help you." And he was the one who saved, Superman and everyone else from the other dimension, the pocket dimension. So I feel like we got a whole lot of characters in there that stood out.
But if I have to ask you to choose between the Hammer of Baravia and the Engineer, if I have to ask you to choose between Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific, who's your number one pick?
For heroes or villains or both?
Both.
I would say it would have to be Mr. Terrific. He was, I mean, even though I feel like there's some similarities to his scene with, oh my gosh, what was that character's name from Guardians? Michael Rooker's character.
Rocket.
The guy with the arrow.
Okay.
Yondu, yes. I feel like it was kind of similar, but at the same time, it's understandable because he's known for having his T-spheres and perhaps even fighting with them. So I'll give it a pass. But I hope we move away from scenes where they're flying invisible objects. I hope we can have something else happen because I feel like we've seen it one too many times. Because Yondu had 2 scenes in Guardians 1 and 2 where he used his arrow. So I hope we can move away from flying objects in the future. But it was a nice little scene protecting Lois and fighting these guys at the same time. But otherwise, he was there. There were some hilarious scenes with Mr. Terrific. He was like, one of the Lexus guys said, Can I help you? No, I'm Mr. Terrific. I'll do it myself. Get out of my way. That was hilarious. I couldn't help myself laughing at that scene. What else do I have here in my notes? So I feel like
just a sec. Number one pick for supervillain, aside from Lex Luthor.
Gosh, goodness. I mean, I feel like maybe the Engineer, visually she was cool, and she came relatively close to killing Superman, right? She had the nanomachines go inside him. And I don't know if maybe in the comics, but I know if we've ever had a scene in live action where we were that tense. And I was just thinking, could this truly kill him? Could they suffocate him from the inside? I truly didn't know. I was like, how's he going to get out of this? We were on the edge of our seats there for a while. I'll give it to her just because she came really close to killing him, maybe even closer than the Hammer of Bravia. I keep saying Bravia. We'll call him Ultraman, I guess. Should I get into? I have some unanswered questions. Should we get into that?
Yes, please.
So
please go ahead.
So at some point, and I love that we had the Superman robots. One of them, the main one, 4, was voiced by Alan Tudyk. So that was a nice little Easter egg.
Who is Galax, basically, from comics.
Yes. So at one point, he says, I was trying to protect Superman. And I was wondering, does that mean that he was the one who kept the rest of the message? Or was he trying to protect him from something else? I feel like that's something we'll find out later on. And then in the after credit scene, he says, your cousin has returned. Where has she returned from? Where was this while all of this was going on? So hopefully we'll find that out in the Supergirl movie.
Right.
Yeah, those are. Did you have any things you felt like were unanswered in this movie?
No, because for me, it's like I went there knowing that this is like a movie that's there to be the platform or like the base of a tree where the seeds are just gonna grow and they will form a massive tree of DC universe where we're gonna be seeing a lot of series and movies and animated features branching out from this foundation that we have, because it's really important that a lot of people may have been confused that, okay, what's the significance of this Superman movie versus season one of Peacemaker?
Well, there's a huge significance.
Yeah, so right now, James Gunn clarified that primarily, season one, most of it is not canon, aside from certain aspects. Like the killing of Rick Flag
Yep.
Jr. is canon and it's part of the new DC universe. That scene where the Snyder's Justice League has been replaced by the Justice Gang. So
Can I say something about that?
Superman movie.
Can I say
Huh?
something about that?
Yeah, sure, sure,
So
sure.
usually I skip, season recaps or episode recaps, just because usually with the season I know what happened in the previous season, and with an episode I don't like to feel like this is what the episode is going to focus on. So you don't need to tell me what happened in previous episodes. But with
Right.
this season recap, there was no skip button. And I was like, I wonder why. Did they want me to watch this forcibly for some reason? And yes, you have to watch the season recap because they show that new altered scene with the Justice Gang replacing the Justice League. And they're all mostly silhouettes, but we get to see Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl give a little bit of back and forth.
Okay. Any other unanswered question that you have to share with the community so that they can participate through their comments?
Oh gosh, man, I just hope at some point, and it was very nice and sweet that he decided at the end to have those scenes, those childhood memories with his adopted parents. But I hope at some point he does connect with his Kryptonian heritage, that he does find out that his father was a good man, at least according to what we know in the comics and other shows, other iterations, that he was a good man, he was a scientist, and they may change that, but I hope we get some glimpse of that. That he tried to maybe save his planet. Him and his mother had no choice but to send him away. I hope we get into that at some point. But man, I feel like they delivered on all cylinders with this movie. It was a very nice summer comic book movie. It was very true to the source material. They took some liberties here and there, but it was mostly fun, filled with action. Oh, one scene that I wish they would have added, and I don't expect them to go back to this. But you know how they say that he stopped the war, and then these children were waiting for Superman to come up, so they raised the flag with his logo on it. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see him, carrying tanks and throwing them across the whatever the land of, helping these kids and the kids looking up to him. It was nice that we heard about it, but would have I feel like would have been great to see it also, because they seemed very disappointed when Guy Gardner showed up. They're like, who is this guy? Where's Superman? So,
Look,
it would have been nice to see that
with
at
that
some point.
scene, with this scene, yes, it would have been great if Superman had joined the fight or led the
Yeah,
fight.
yeah,
But the thing is, they wanted to keep it as real as possible, that if he is like fighting monsters, a kaiju monster, and Lex Luthor and the Continental Drift in Krypton, so it's not going to be like a cakewalk for him to just fly all the way to
yeah.
Abravia. So I appreciated that, even though, yes, like you, I would have really enjoyed Superman basically going up against the army of what was the name of
Yeah.
this state? Yeah, Bravia, and in support of people of Jaharanpur. But I really enjoyed what Guy Gardner did with Moravian forces. So that was really satisfying for me. And now, before we move on to the Fantastic Four, we forgot to talk about the Rock of Superman, or the Rock of spiritual guidance, Ma and Pa can.
So, I mean, they provided a little bit of a safe haven for him to recover, and they gave him some words of reassurance that he is a good man and he's doing the right thing. His father gives him well, he gives his father a hug. And I don't think they've been portrayed this way before, where they have such a southern accent. So, I mean, it's fine. It shows that they're perhaps maybe portrayed as very simple people. They are farmers. And at some point, he says, I didn't want to leave the dog there because he would have maybe eaten the cows, my parents' cows. So it was a very nice and touching scene, and we got to see his room and the bands that he listens to. But again, I feel like we maybe needed a little more to show how they raised him, what they did to bring him up as this uh, very good-hearted person or man of the people. So I feel like something was still, for me, just missing a little bit. And hopefully we'll get that. I know they were trying really hard to get it across, but I feel like maybe just one or two scenes would have been great.
Well put. Well put. But it's like, I don't know why Hollywood directors, they are really, really reluctant to have the duration of a movie beyond 120 minutes, 2 hours. I don't know why. I mean, the Fantastic Four did the same thing. Superman did the same thing. Just difference of few minutes plus minus. One of the best movies ever when it came to MCU, Captain America Winter Soldier, also 2 hours. I don't know why is this. I mean, like, what's the wisdom behind? Because if you have added like 15, 20 minutes additional minutes in the production time, I think that would add covered a lot of the things that you have
Yeah.
raised.
I had a bunch of things I just had in mind. So to answer people's comparison, I guess we should touch on the elephant in the room. Should we compare and contrast Henry and David about who's the better
Yeah,
Superman?
let's do it. Let's do it. Yes.
So you know, going back to was it 2013 when Man of Steel came out? Um,
Roughly around that.
yeah. So it was around that time when it was announced and everything, and I got to see the suit for the first time, and people were saying the trunks is missing, and it didn't bother me too much at first. It grew on me. It grew me, and to the point where I feel like most people today say live action you got to do without the trunks. It got to the point where a lot of people, it got cemented in their subconscious where this is the ultimate Superman of Henry Cavill, right? And you wouldn't see him in any video online unless he was working out or telling people how much of a nerd or geek he is, setting up his computer or doing his World of Warcraft figurines, painting them, whatnot. So he's generally a nerd, but the same can also be said about David. I've seen scenes where he has recited complete scenes from Star Wars. And kudos to him, man, for being a diehard Star Wars fan. If we strictly look at the suit, so some pictures have come out of him without the trunks. It's not the best. I feel like it highlights not areas that probably shouldn't be highlighted of his chest and stomach. And I feel like that's maybe the trunks helps a lot in keeping everything together.
Right.
So I feel like it's a nice return to form having the trucks, because that is ultimately how the character was in the comics. And I mean, like, when they take away, they ultimately come back to it. And we've heard James Gunn go back and forth about saying he consulted with a bunch of people, including Zack Snyder. He called up Zack Snyder and said, "What do you think? Should we do trunks or not?" And so it was ultimately decided that they would keep the trunks. So yeah, it's a pretty cool portrayal, and I'm getting the Hot Toys when it comes out. I think it's coming out in the next 2 months, the figurine. So we'll probably do a little preview of that when it arrives.
Yeah, that will really bring down the house, man. That's much
Yeah.
needed.
So it's a 1/6 scale Superman along with Crypto. So we'll get to see that when it comes in. But yeah, by all means,
Right.
tell us what you think.
For me, look, the thing is, there are those who are Snyder cultists who are just throwing dirt on David Corrin Sweat that he's the worst Superman or whatever. But as somebody who has been dreaming all his life to see Superman be on the silver screen, and with the bar set so high by Christopher Reeve, saying that that particular actor is the best looking Superman or the other one is the worst looking Superman, I think that's a wrong approach. Why? Because I'll give you an analogy from the world of comics. In comic books, you have Superman that's done by Joe Shuster, completely different look and feel. You have a different Superman when you look at Neil Adams Superman, when you look at Kurt Swan Superman, then you see John Byrne Superman, then there's the Alex Ross Superman, there's the Ed Benes Superman, there's Dan Jurgens Superman. I mean, like, but these are all Superman. It's not about who's the best or who's the worst. They all are part of our wonderful memories, their stories, the message that they portrayed. And the same thing I apply when it comes to Henry Cavill and David Cornswell. I think if it wasn't for Richard Donner, if it wasn't for Christopher Reeve, this underlying pursuit of basically having the soul of Superman present within an actor would not have been emphasized as much as it has been done to this day. And one other guy I want to mention is, like, aside from Tom Welling, Dean Cain, okay, uh, he's hardly part of the discussion, even though he is one heck of a Superman, in my opinion. It's okay, his movie was not that, like, groundbreaking, but the thing is, like, all of these actors, whether they were in a TV series, whether they were part of the movie franchise, they have paid their due to give the best possible portrayal that is true to comics. Zack Snyder's Superman was like the Alex Ross version. Whereas when I looked at David Corenswet, and one of the reasons why I maybe fell in love with this movie more is the fact that, it took me back to my childhood, because, my first exposure to comics was that time when Kurt Swan was at the twilight of his career and John Byrne was about to take. John Byrne did the Man of Steel comics, the Superman comics in 1986. Before that, Kurt Swan was doing a lot of the art for Superman. So this guy reminded me of basically a perfect blend of Swan Superman and John Byrne Superman. Okay. So am I going to say that who's better than the other? No, I'm not going to do that. Henry is like, as I said, he's the Alex Ross uh, type Superman, whereas uh, David Corenswet. Now, can I choose a favorite from these? Yes, still my favorite is Christopher Reeve because of him reminding us of the Neil Adams version of Superman. He still remains my favorite. I mean, like, that personality, that persona, that presence, okay, will always remain unmatched because there wasn't any CGI. You had camera tricks at best. And for him to be able to, you know, give us the best possible portrayal of Superman in every angle, not just the fights, but when he is in flight, when he is coming down, when he is flying up. He was the perfect casting, like the late Chadwick Boseman for T'Challa. But if I have to pick a favorite after him, I would go with David Corenswet, but because of my his bias, not because that the Snyderverse Superman was pathetic or Brandon Routh was not as good or Tom Welling was not as good. No, even Dean Cain, I sometimes really get irritated with his posts on X. But then again, I mean, like, he has contributed to the mythos of Superman and he has to be given his fair due, if I can say
Also,
that.
can we add that Brandon Routh, not only did he did the movie, right, the Superman Returns, he also came back in the
Yes.
CW verse, or I guess the Arrowverse, and he donned the cape again. He was Kingdom Come Superman, or I guess that's the costume he wore. But he did a
Yeah.
fantastic portrayal in that. So big thumbs up for him for coming back. And he was initially doing a different role, right? He was Ray Palmer.
Ray
Yep.
Palmer.
Yep. He was the Atom. But I'm glad that they decided to do an Elseworlds where they brought him back to do Superman one more time.
Amazing, man. Amazing.
So yeah, man,
Amazing.
fun stuff.
Fantastic Four.
Oh my gosh, Fantastic Four. Dude, I don't know what it was. I loved this movie. So much that, there were so many pops in our auditorium. People were enjoying it so much to the point where I felt like I wanted to get out of here, buy a ticket, go back in and watch it again. I enjoyed it that much. The idea of it was so simple, but I feel like they nailed it. To excuse us from having any homework, they said this is a different dimension. This is somewhere else. You don't have to worry about other heroes, something from the past, from the future. There's none of that. This is a different world. These are the heroes of this world. We don't see the scene where they got their powers. Again, maybe we'll get a flashback at some point, but it was basically, these are the heroes. But what I found peculiar is they're the highest authority in this world. There is no chief of police. There is no governor of New York. There is no president. They are the highest authority of this world. So people keep coming to them for their education, for their high-ranking decisions. So it's up to them to run this world. And I found that very interesting. And so another thing I have here in my notes, Johnny is not your typical just womanizer. Johnny was an integral part of this movie. He interestingly took something that was a small hint that could save the world, and he deciphered the language of the Silver Surfer, right? No one else could do it. Reed didn't give it a second thought. He was like, we got to do this, 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 this. And he's the one who comes up with all the answers, even the things we don't want to hear about, right? That was his thing in the movie. But Johnny was the one who thought, no, we got to figure out a way to communicate with this person. I heard some of what she said. I'm going to figure it out. And he did. And so big thumbs up for them for fleshing out the character of Johnny Storm.
Joseph Quinn was amazing. Yeah. Joseph Quinn, yeah.
Reed proves that he is the smartest man in the world. He is thinking of every contingency. And at one point, they have a little bit of a spat, the happy couple, because he even thinks about, what if we actually need to sacrifice our son to save the world? He thinks of it. He considers it for a little bit, because he has to think of every single possibility, and that's great. Ben is the heart of the group. He plays around with the kids in the street. He has this connection with the woman that he meets, but he also brings the group together. And I think he's the pilot, right? Wait, is he? I'm sorry, I think Johnny is the pilot.
Ben is the World War II veteran, but also he's a veteran. But is he a pilot? I think he is. Yes.
What else do I have here? The stakes in this movie are extremely high because the world is dependent on them finding a solution to the problem of Galactus. We get a true to form portrayal of Galactus, and it's amazing. And he's not just a cloud. He is an actual person, giant person, who sits down on Earth because he wants, again, the story of this movie is that the only way he'll spare this planet is if he can have Franklin Richards. So that was a very cool point, that they had to come up with a plan to save their planet, and the alternative was that they had to give up their son. So that was very cool, and I'm sad to say that I forgot to bring my popcorn bucket. Kudos, I guess we have to give props to my close friend, Dr. Knife, who was on a trip to the U.S., and he got me what was the world's largest, it's in the Guinness World Record, popcorn bucket at the head of Galactus. Yeah. And I feel terrible that I forgot to bring it with me. Next video, I guess I'll have to have it with me.
Yeah.
Sue,
we'll be looking forward to.
Sue gives a shocking order at some point, and she says, "Kill him and kill her, Johnny. She wants to take away your nephew." And I can see where some people might have been shocked of a superhero yelling, "Kill that person," but she wanted to protect her baby. So we'll give her a pass. So yeah. She gives a very powerful and impactful speech at one point, saying she won't sacrifice her son to was it to save the world, but she won't sacrifice the world to save her son, something like that. It's a
Yeah.
very powerful speech, and I feel like Reed, he probably shouldn't be the one doing public speaking. I feel like Sue mostly does that, and she was busy with her baby, so Reed had to address the people when they came back on their spaceship, and he told the people failed, but the price was too high. And perhaps any public speaker would know you're not supposed to say stuff like that to worry the people. And it came back to haunt them. The people were worried because maybe you shouldn't have told them the entire truth about what was happening. Because, of course, they're going to come back and say, give up your son.
It's maybe
Mm.
because they tried to show the life that it was quite simple back in the 60s, and there was some naivety involved.
One last thing that I had down was that the end of the movie didn't tie in at all with the end scene we got from Thunderbolts. So we still don't know how they cross into the main timeline. I guess we'll find out later in the next movie. But we got a fantastic scene, and I don't know if this is true or not. So for those who've seen the end credit scene, we got our first glimpse at Doctor Doom. Well, just the back of it. But I hear, from what I heard, I don't know if this is true. It would have cost them a lot of money to show just a glimpse of Robert Downey Jr.'s face. Again, I don't know if that's true or not, but would have been great to just have him turn around just for a second and say, "Hi, that's me. I'm here. I'm maybe taking your son."
Okay, for me, I found Pedro Pascal as the weakest link when it came to Fantastic
Right.
Four. I was having high hopes, but Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Eben Moss Backrack, they really made me happy. We saw a dysfunctional family, just like in the
Yep.
comics, just like in the animated
Yep.
series. We saw the quintessential Fantastic Four, which is from the 60s, the space age era. Quite a lot of things were really simplistic in this movie, as you correctly pointed out. That I mean, like, we didn't have, let's say, the mayor of New York, we didn't have the governor of the state of New York, only the president we got to heard about him, the United Nations, okay, but like literally they were the go-to family for all of these things. So to a certain extent, yes. Why? Because even in the comics, the Fantastic Four is a well-respected family living in the heart of Manhattan. They are really accessible to the public compared to the politicians. They have a huge clout with the government. And obviously, if you start to bring in the different elements, then that would simply prolong the story, and it wouldn't have been completed in the 2 hour frame. Now, I just personally feel that the wound of Tony Stark's death hasn't been healed. So I guess it's not merely about money, but also it's like, they've Marvel wants to build up on where they last left Tony Stark, which is Endgame. And I I am starting. This is just my hunch that Tony's story, from what we are going to learn when we will watch Avengers Doomsday, is gonna break a lot of hearts. Believe me, and it's not in a simplistic way, mind you, because I'm just focusing on all the things that can be tied into Doomsday as flashback scenes. I'm not claiming here that Jonathan Majors is going to be brought back, or Loki, Tom Hiddleston is going to be having a huge role or something like that. No. But there are some key flashback moments within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that will basically justify the case for the existence of Doctor Doom. And the way I feel it's heading, I think that if people felt sad seeing Tony Stark die, then what they see in Doomsday is going to really break their hearts. And I don't think that that can be topped in Avengers Secret Wars, mind you. I have this feeling because Avengers Secret Wars is going to be the climax, okay, where we're gonna see Doom as the God King, and all the heroes coming together, fixing the timelines and everything, and a new world is going to start, and all that. Whatever they can do, I mean, like Doomsday is like Infinity War minus the Tony Stark factor. So I think that the post-credit scene that had Doctor Doom, they deliberately kept the suspense alive because you remember both of us were together in the cinema. When we saw that post-credit scene, literally everyone's mind was blown up. So I
For
think
those who stuck around,
for those who stuck around, yes, because there were a lot of other individuals who just, as soon as the movie ended, they just went out of the theater. But
shame
those
on
who
you.
remained,
Shame. It's been over 30 movies. People should know you should stay put.
nah, man. I mean, like, unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the patience. And, anyways, it's their loss, not ours.
I mean,
So, as far as the Fantastic Four is concerned, John Malkovich, who was supposed to play
one of the villains.
the red, I always forget the name of this friend, Red Ghost.
Red Ghost. So we didn't get to see that scene. They cut him out completely. And I guess they decided they're going to utilize him for something else, which makes sense because he's a big actor, right? If you want to use him for something where we get to see him on screen in several scenes, not just for a flashback or something. So I applaud the decision. I feel like it was the right call to take him out. And I hope if we do see him, it's well put in there. It's well thought out.
Okay. And now, one of the things was that Galactus, the adaptation of Galactus, my God, that was just mind blowing. I actually got the chance to interact and chat with some of the members of the audience who are not too much into comics, who have familiarity about the Fantastic Four. And they were saying, man, a lot of the things in the movie they did not like, for example, that part about Franklin where he brings his mom back to life. And that's, I'll get into that because there's a flaw within that argument. But they said they were completely blown away. And if there is a reason they loved the movie, it was because of Galactus. So that's a huge plus.
I felt like that scene was very reminiscent of the end of Avengers where Tony almost dies when he's coming back from the wormhole and Hulk has to wake him up.
Yeah.
I felt like both scenes are someone lying down on the ground in the streets of New York and somehow they had to bring him back. Which is fine. But they had to show that there is indeed something special about this kid. He does have the power cosmic. And that was our one glimpse into that. So I don't mind it that much. Again, they didn't want to lean into he's some kind of miracle child, but
yeah,
it's somewhere in there. It's in the comics that he's, I guess, either a mutant or something. That he takes some genes, some powers from his parents. But he's I guess one of the most powerful in the comics, one of the most powerful characters, and they want to display that.
One of the most powerful characters, and I'm glad you used the M word, which is mutant, because he is a mutant. He has been trained by Agatha in comics. Okay, she is the one who basically was his nanny, if I can call her. Okay, for a good number of years, because so that he would know how to control his powers. And at the same time, when we are talking about from a comics perspective, when we look at Days of the Future Past, you have Franklin Richards alongside X-Men. When we're talking about Earth X, that dystopian series by Alex Ross and Jim Kruger from the 90s, which basically Earth X and Planet X, that basically introduced us to Shala Ball, a version of Silver Surfer, the female version of Silver Surfer. Franklin Richards is the Galactus in that one. So, I mean, like there are so many things that Franklin Richards is known for. And when some people said that like this movie felt like a Bollywood movie because of that last scene, I said, were you paying attention to what Galactus was saying about Franklin Richards? And it didn't give you any signal that being that can easily
devour a planet,
chomp up, devour planets, is particularly interested or at the same time concerned because of this kid. So don't you think there is something like that needs to be explored in that? And they were saying, yeah, now that you mention it, I think, yeah, that makes sense. I said, when you need to read comics a little bit, because Franklin Richards is possibly the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to the Fantastic Four movie, even bigger than Galactus. The Onslaught saga, which was pretty X-Men centric, Franklin was a key character in that.
So much so that Dr. Doom was interested in him, right? He was there playing with the kid, maybe he was like, I'm sure at some point it crossed his mind, why is this being from outer space interested in this child? I have to find out.
And at the same time, I mean, like, when Galactus and Doctor Doom are interested in the same child, definitely there is something that is going to be unleashed.
Yes.
And this movie is not as simplistic as you
Yeah.
think. But anyhow, I hope people have had the chance to watch this movie again and again. I didn't, because unfortunately I had some health issues after the movie and I was not able to. Sorry, excuse me. I wasn't able to watch it again in the cinema. Now, before we move to the next topic, Man of Tomorrow, quick thoughts.
So it was announced in a very nice way where legendary comic book artist Jim Lee had illustrated some pictures of Superman standing side by side with Lex Luthor in his battle armor. So I feel like what's hinted here is that we're going to get some kind of immense threat that is going to push these two characters, these two nemesis, join forces to fight something together. And from what we found out in the movie, Lex has been sort of an expert on extraterrestrials. He spent years and years studying Superman. He said for the 3 years he's been around, I studied him. And I guess one of his employees said Lex is an expert. He's been studying you for 3 years. And that tells me that possibly it's a Kryptonian threat, which leads me to say maybe it's Zod. Also, maybe because Lex has already once cloned Superman, maybe it's Doomsday, because in some versions of the comics, Doomsday is a clone of Superman that has been designed and programmed to kill Superman. So maybe Doomsday has been awakened, has gone on a rampage, and Lex and no one else can control him, and now he has to be captured or put out of his misery. Maybe it's a Kryptonian threat where Kryptonians have come to invade Earth and they want Superman for some reason, or they just want the Earth for some reason. And I don't think it's the big boss of the DC universe. I don't think it's Darkseid. I feel like they're going to keep him for something later on down the road. I feel like maybe they'll hint to him, but possibly not. I feel like those are the major players that I could see, but also possibly I feel like Brainiac. So those are my picks for what threat this could be. And you know that if these two characters are going to team up, eventually Lex is going to stab the Superman in the back. He's going to find some way to help him and then turn against him. And that's just the nature of how their relationship is, right?
Interesting point that you raised, that it's not going to be Darkseid, but you think that it might be Brainiac. Don't you think Brainiac is a bigger threat than Darkseid?
I feel like it's a huge threat because Brainiac has either been Superman's nemesis and sometimes for the Justice League. But the same could be said about Darkseid. And in some cases, Darkseid and Brainiac have joined forces against the Justice League. But I feel like Darkseid is way too big of a threat, and he's got his generals. So we could see Kalibak, we could see Desaad. I feel like that could be the first step of an invasion. So, I mean, it could be hinted at that it could be Darkseid, but I don't think yet. I feel like Darkseid, it could be something really big that they could save for later. But at the same time, I could see him sending one of his generals in as a first wave of the invasion.
What about General Zod?
Again, when I said the Kryptonian invasion, I feel like it would be led by General Zod. And I feel like that could be a perfect opportunity for them to rectify the message and for Superman to possibly find out the truth of what. I mean, I feel like Kryptonians could be arriving and they could expect that Superman, or Kal-El, did you take over the planet like you should have? And notice it was never once referred to him as Kal-El. He doesn't even know his real name.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's going to find that out at some point. They're going to come over and say, did you take over the planet like you were supposed to? No. General, look, this guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. What should we do? So I feel like something's going to happen where he's going to reconnect with his roots, with his heritage. So we'll find that out down the line. But I feel like those are my top picks, either Brainiac, Zod, or possibly even we could find out that Ultraman or Bizarro could return.
I don't think Bizarro. Ultraman, yes, but I don't think Bizarro.
Well, he was sucked into a black hole, right?
Yeah, he
that
was.
doesn't close the door entirely on this character. I feel like at some point he'll come back. So, well, we'll see. What about you? What are your top picks for a villain for the next movie?
I agree with you on the part of Brainiac, Zord, and Doomsday also makes sense. I think, yeah, even you have some good points on why Darkseid is not going to be like the main antagonist for the Man of Tomorrow movie. Though I think that maybe it's going to be an invasion. We will see Darkseid, but we are not gonna see a boss fight with Darkseid. It's like, this movie might lead to the formation of the Justice
Mm,
League, because Justice League, the first time they were formed, they thwarted the invasion of
yep.
Starro in comics. And then in the New 52, it was, believe, the invasion by, I think it was Darkseid's invasion in New 52, Justice League War. So maybe they might take a page from there. So I'm not gonna rule out Darkseid in that respect. Bizarro, because Bizarro, yes, I mean, like, he is going to be there. He might be there as part of the Injustice League if they have plans to introduce the Injustice League. But for him to be this major threat, I doubt that. Major threat level, it's when it comes to Superman, it's either Brainiac, it's either Zord, it's either Doomsday, or it's Darkseid. So yeah.
I feel like it has to be something where Lex can be a huge help to Superman, right? And that's what tells me either maybe Ultraman's back or Doomsday, because Doomsday, again, we said is in some versions a clone of Superman. So, and Lex has cloned Superman in the past in this universe. So those two make sense. But also, I feel like Brainiac, just because it's Kryptonian tech and Lex has been possibly studying Kryptonian tech since he's been inside the Fortress of Solitude.
Good. Now, Doctor Doom's full armor has been revealed in during the expo in Shanghai, China. So does it hit the mark or does it miss
It's
it
very
by a
true to
mile?
the comics. The concept art that you shared, it looks great. It's Doctor Doom with his hood and his armor. I would have loved for them to show an unmasked Doctor Doom also, where we get to see RDJ wearing the armor. And I'm sure we'll see that very soon. It's been hinted that we might get a trailer before the end of the year, at least a teaser trailer, sometime before the end of the year. But it looks great. If you look at the laser show that they showed, he's
Yeah, that's what I wanted to want to hear your opinion
he's
on.
wielding the he's wielding the 10 rings in those, but he's also ripping out Thanos' spine. So those are two terrifying ideas that I guess we're gonna get somewhere down the line. I mean, what did he have to do to get the 10 rings? And in what dimension does he meet Thanos? Because Thanos in our dimension is long gone. Did he have to go to other
Yeah.
dimensions to meet Thanos? Is there a Thanos in his dimension with the Fantastic Four? Lots of questions remain to be answered. But we also got the logos of all the teams we're going to get. We're going to get the Avengers. We're going to get the Fantastic Four. We're going to get the X-Men. They're going to come back. I don't know. Anything else?
Well, Avengers are two
Yeah.
teams. The new Avengers, which were former Thunderbolts, and then you have the Sam Wilson one. And then lots of speculation, rumors that Chris Evans is going to be in this movie.
I wonder if,
And I'm stuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if, because it was so popular in the comics when it came out, the alternate version of Captain America, Captain Hydra. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
now every major villain needs generals, right? And it's
Yeah.
been hinted that Doctor Doom might have some generals, one of them being Captain Hydra. And it's been reported officially that Tobey Maguire has been sighted in London where they're shooting both the new Spider-Man movie and the Avengers. So
Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland?
Tobey Maguire recently was reported.
That's
That's
confirmed
confirmed.
because Tom Holland is there right
Tom
now.
Holland's there, but also Tobey Maguire is in London. Whether he's involved with shooting, we don't know. Whether he's involved with which movie, we don't even know that. But he's in London. Is he just sightseeing? It's probably unlikely. But I mean, at this point, we can only speculate that he's involved with one of these movies.
So Doom is
And it's
Yeah.
been hinted that Doctor Doom might have some generals, one of them being Captain Hydra. And it's been reported officially that Tobey Maguire has been sighted in London where they're shooting both the new Spider-Man movie and the Avengers. So
Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland?
Toby, Toby Maguire recently was reported.
That's
Yeah, that's
confirmed
confirmed.
because Tom Holland is there right
Tom
now.
Holland's there, but also Toby Maguire is in London. Whether he's involved with shooting, we don't know. Whether he's involved with which movie, we don't even know that. But he's in London. Is he just sightseeing? It's probably unlikely. But I mean, at this point, we can only speculate that he's involved with one of these movies.
So Doom is going to be having his own version of Cull Obsidian, just like Thanos. One of the generals is going to be Captain America, the evil version, the Hydra version. Then you have the evil Doctor Strange, who has been shown multiple times, both in the animated universe as well as in the live action multiverse of madness. Then you have Susan Storm. Then you have Namor. Then you have Captain Marvel. All of these are potential candidates. And I'm saying these names from Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars crossover event from 2015. Okay. Now, Peacemaker. Without giving out spoilers, how is it going?
Man, this is a fun show. I didn't expect to like it this much. And I feel like up until we got the Penguin show, this was possibly the most popular DC live action show, right? And then Penguin came along and won all sorts of awards, which was great. It was a very serious show, very different tone and themes. This is just a fun show that you feel like you can watch with some buddies over a snack and some drinks. I'm having a lot of fun with it. You know, there are times when the characters just get together at a party and have some drinks, which is fine. It's good to cool down and take a break from the action. It's not, and we've had some major characters show up, but it's not clear right now what is the major threat of this season. We can speculate. It's been hinted online that this alternate dimension that Chris has been going to is Earth X, where I guess the Nazis have taken over. They've won the war and they've taken over the world. Basically, people have noticed in all the episodes, in the scenes in this alternate dimension, there are no other races. There are no people of different ethnicities of color, and that could be it. That could be why his dad in this alternate dimension is so happy. Why his brother is there. Um, I think at some point, maybe when he puts everything together, possibly these two worlds might go to war. That's my best guess. But we now know.
And who's heading the Nazis? Mendel Savage?
Dude, I feel like we haven't had a live action. Well, we did in Legends of Tomorrow. We had a live action version of Vandal Savage, but I feel like we haven't had one properly fleshed out for in a while, at least. That I think in season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow we had a version of Vandal Savage, but that's one of my favorite characters of Justice League. He's just a guy who's been around for ages, right? And he's trying to lead the world in his own image. So it's a very interesting character. And I think we've talked about this before, where he believes that the existence of the Justice League is preventing the evolution of humankind because they prevent wars, and war, according to his belief, is a natural process that has to happen. So not that we agree with it, but it's a weird philosophy, and it'd be interesting to see. So we'll see who is the main protect. We still don't know who's running this alternate dimension, but we now know why Hardcore is she has such negative feelings towards Chris in this world. Um, so that'll be interesting to see later on when it finally fleshes out, if she finds out, and if they actually find out that their version of Peacemaker has been killed.
Oh yes. Oh yes. 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 Okay, a little bit. I think we dwell on the spoilers, so I'm not going to prolong this discussion. Otherwise, we might end up.
Well, I think it
more.
was in the first episode. So if you're watching the show, you'll probably have seen that.
True. 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 Okay, Marvel Zombies. The trailer looks really promising, and it's one of my favorite episodes from the What If series, the season 1. Your thoughts?
Man, they took a step above What If, and they made this mature audiences only. So we're going to see some intense violence, some gore, some blood splashing everywhere. Well, we've seen that in the trailer, but it's gonna be double that. It's only 4 episodes. They're all going to drop on the same day next week. But I'm really looking forward to this, man. It's really interesting when they take your favorite versions of your heroes and they put them in a what if scenario that you can't even imagine the outcome to. I can't imagine how they're going to fix this world because half the Avengers, the X-Men, all those guys have been turned into zombies and they have their powers. Like Wanda is probably the biggest threat of this universe, right? She's got her powers.
Yes.
We've seen Captain America wielding his shield. We've seen zombie Iron Man with his suit of armor, with his repulsors. So
Right.
all those guys are in there using their power.
Has been Hulk sacrificed himself in the What If episode.
Yep. I guess he's a zombie as well.
He basically, like Bruce Banner, became his Hulk form. Came into his Hulk form, so that basically the zombies would eat it up, and then the radiation would cause them to.
I gotcha.
Blow
It's been a
up.
while. I have to rewatch the episode, but it looks like a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see it. I feel like the only question now is, do we watch the entire 4 episodes in one day? Because I feel like we're going to be tempted to do that.
I for one, know that 99%, it's probable that I'm going to be binge watching all of them together. So amazing. And let's just refresh our memories. From the trailer, we see Blade actually debuting in any Marvel adaptation after the Wesley Snipes, David S. Goyer version of it. But one thing is that this Blade is not going to be voiced by Mahershala Ali, but Blade is debuting and he is wearing a Moon Knight armor.
Well, his eyes are glowing too, like Moon Knight.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe he is a disciple of Honshu in this one. And then we have Spider-Man, we have Black Panther, these three have not been bitten by the zombies. And there is one other character. I'm trying to
I
remember
think Bruce Banner was in there,
when they
right?
showed No, not Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner, because when they showed Spider-Man actually throwing the Stormbreaker on
Thanos.
zombified Thanos, so there were three characters together. So I'm trying to figure it out who is it, because Shang-Chi is going to be here in this one. America Chavez, Miss Marvel is in this series also, and we have Yelena from the Thunderbolts. We have the Red Guardian from the Thunderbolts. So quite a lot of characters are going to be part of this one, but very few are going to remain unzombified, if that's the right word to go for it. Anyways, just a reminder for everyone, September 24th, the episodes are going to be dropping on Disney Plus. So make sure that you guys get to watch it. Now we are coming to the part where we're going to talk about Batman Day. I'm wearing my Batman 89 t-shirt. I just did a shout out. Just a reminder that this is not a paid promotion for Kinder Bueno. It's just that if you guys are fans of Tiny Toons Plucky Duck as Bat Duck, you can collect this Batmobile. Okay, Son of Sparda, you were showcasing something which I believe you're going to be bringing into the Batman Day gathering at Imar Square at Starbucks on Friday at 5 p.m. Correct me if I'm
Oh
wrong.
yeah, absolutely. So I have this lovely illustration. It's a bit of a 3D picture of Batman the Animated Series, and it's signed by the man himself, Kevin Conroy. Rest in peace. He passed away some years ago. I got to meet him. He plays Batman / Bruce Wayne / old Batman in Batman Beyond, but also Mark Hamill, who is the Joker,
And Luke
and Luke
Skywalker.
Skywalker in Star Wars. I got to meet him also last year in Chicago. So very glad I got to have this signed by both these gentlemen, these legends in world of voice acting and cartoons. They were known for playing Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Joker respectively in Batman the Animated Series for over 30 years in the cartoons, in animated movies, and in video games. So they've been around for quite some time. And after Kevin had passed away, Mark had said, I'm done. I can't be playing the Joker without Kevin. He is my Batman. But despite that, they recorded one last final scene together in that Crisis on Infinite Earths animated movie where
Yes.
where they
Yes.
face off together, Batman and Joker. And I guess he says something along the lines of, I care, Joker, because I care about Gotham and justice, and I'll always be here. And that was a fantastic send off to Kevin Conroy.
Okay, before you and I just discuss a little bit about the 30th anniversary of Batman the Animated Series, I just want to let the public know that we had done a gathering for Superman Day back in April. And in that, the son of Sparda was kind enough to bring in one of his priceless memorabilia, a poster of Man of Steel that was signed by Henry Cavill, Tom Welling, and I'm forgetting the name. Who was the third guy who signed this?
Was it Michael Rosenbaum or?
No, 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 not Michael
Oh,
Rosenbaum.
I'm completely drawing a blank. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up.
Anyways, you can check out our video. Three people part of the Superman lore. One from movie, two from the TV series, and I mean, like, how often do you get the chance to see such priceless memorabilia in Jeddah? So for Batman Day, we're going to be getting together once again, as I've said, at Starbucks of Imar Square, 5 p.m. So you guys can join us. You can, and just to get more details and everything, please join our group, Superheroes of Arabia. You can check out Son of Sparda's amazing collection, this Batman the Animated Series premium format action figure. And which company did this, Son of
So
Sparda?
this is made by Mondo Toys. They make 1/6 scale figurines that are fully made of plastic. There's no fabric on this at all. So they've made a bunch of characters from the animated series. This is Batman, and I'm going to pull up another one of the characters that they made. They've also made a Harley Quinn and Catwoman and a Robin, and this is Joker. Looks
from the Laughing Fish episode of
Yep.
Batman the Animated
And
Series.
he's got it.
Beautiful.
He's got some explosives down here. Lots of very cool, fun details in this figurine. He's got his laughing fish, like you mentioned. So very cool figure. They are also going to be releasing sometime soon a Superman that looks exactly like the one from the animated series. So I'm hoping to get that one as it releases. But really cool company. I love getting their figures whenever they release. So if you guys want to go on the website, check them out. I highly recommend.
So to the viewers and to the members of our Superheroes of Arabia community, if you want to check out this autographed memorabilia, the one that's signed by Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, please make sure to join us. Okay, and everybody has to, the rules are pretty simple. You have to wear a Batman t-shirt, or if you want to be dressed up as Batman or Joker, be there. You have to buy a cup of coffee or a dessert or a sandwich, whichever you feel like, so that it basically helps out the cafe that's giving us the space and the opportunity to host this gathering, unlike many others. So, and basically, we're going to be talking about Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and this series. Right now, as you know, that I'm an affiliate of Amazon Amazon. So on Amazon Prime, which is only available for 16 reals a month, with a lot of other benefits, they have all 4 seasons of Batman the Animated Series, and is possibly the most impactful duo ever when we're talking about Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. The other bit is that this remains, or this series has the longest lasting impact than any other production for Batman. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, absolutely. It lasted, I believe, for 4 seasons, and some of them were extremely long. And it covered most of, I feel like, Batman's original gallery of villains. It had some very adult themes to these stories, right? It wasn't just like the villain of the week. Let's catch him. Let's put him in prison. No, there were some things that made you really reflect on the character of Batman. He questioned his quest as a hero there at times. There are times when Robin questioned what he was doing, and we got to see how the character of Batgirl came about. There was one episode. Well, it was a two-parter. I believe that you said it was one of your favorites, Fate of Clay, I believe.
Man.
Beautifully animated episode. also one of my favorites was, I think it was called, was it Heart of Stone, Heart of Steel, the Hardeck episode, where there was an artificial intelligence that tried to take over the city of Gotham. You remember that one? Yep.
Yes. Yes.
A really cool 2-part episode. So there were some really cool things, and at some point they got to a point where they said, we got to expand on this. So they started to, in season 4, the animation style was a little different, but they started to explore also the villains of the series and other supporting characters. We got to find out about Nightwing and why he left Batman's
Yeah.
side, which is something we don't get to see
Yeah.
very often, that at some point Robin and Batman did not get along, and he had to go his own separate ways. So we got to see that in very good detail. It was, like you said, a very impactful series. It remains to this day the most faithful adaptation of the character, I believe.
And the way it impacted the comics and the way it impacted the gaming universe. I mean, like Arkham trilogy. Just imagine that the executive producer for, I think, all of the Arkham games was Tim, one of the executive producers, if I'm not wrong. And at the same time, 2 games, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, were actually written by Paul Dini, one of the longest serving writers on Batman the Animated Series. That's how, I mean, like, these guys really made a name for themselves. And I mean, this is just besides the point that how they were involved in writing comic book stories in Batman Black and White.
I feel like we should also mention that some characters made their debut in that series, like Harley Quinn. She had never, people think she came from the comics. No, she came from the animated series. We had never seen her before then. So she was, if you watch some interviews online, she was supposed to be a one and done character. She was supposed to be a henchman of Joker, but she was so beloved in the episodes that she debuted in that they decided to make her a regular character. No, we're going to see more of her. And eventually she broke out into her own comic book series, into her own movie, played by Margot Robbie. So yeah, it was very enjoyable seeing this character. So yeah, it's a very beloved series, and people love. I rewatch it at least once a year. I go back and rewatch the entire '90s animated shows, starting with Batman the Animated Series, and then ending with the Justice League Unlimited, or ending with Batman Beyond, I should say, because that one takes place in the future.
Since you mentioned Harley Quinn, character would not have been popular had it not been voiced by the late Arlene Sorkin.
Yes, absolutely.
And she's the template, basically.
Yep, absolutely.
And she too was involved, by the way, with Arkham games.
Yes, absolutely. I think she was voiced later on by another actress. I forget her name, but the character is so big that they had to keep her going, right? The other actress, very popular in the world of voice acting. She does a fantastic job. We're going to have to look up her name at some point. But
Susan Strong?
I think that's the one. Yes, I think that's it.
Let me check right now, man, because, man, but Arlene. Yes.
Yep. She gave some of her own performances because she had played some version of a jester.
Tara Strong, not Susan Strong, sorry. Tara.
Yeah, Tara Strong. And Tara does a fantastic job of portraying Harley. But, if you want to go back to who did it first, it was Arlene Sorkin.
Amazing, man. And these people, like, really, really, I just want to share one story. We were in the US when we first saw Batman, the animated series. It was 1994. And, our generation, our parents would always just dismiss this passion of ours of watching cartoons. So me and my brother are really excited that, like, man, we're going to be watching Batman, the animated series, something whose ads we were seeing in the pages of comics. And next thing you know, the first episode we saw was the Laughing Fish episode.
Well, that's a good episode.
So the story was in itself very chilling, very haunting. But the important bit is that my dad is like sitting in the same room in the TV lounge, and he's like reading the newspaper and totally not interested in what we are doing. Next thing you know, he starts to hear Kevin Conroy's voice. And then he immediately says, whoever is voicing Batman, this guy is amazing. And he started to watch the episodes with us because, I mean, like, even though it was made for kids, but like you said, I mean, the quality of drama in it, the psychological theme, that thrill and that, Hollywood noir feel into it, the amazing jazz soundtrack in the background, that art deco visuals, man, oh yeah, and I forgot to mention one other thing. We were talking about the danger of Warner Brothers executives putting unnecessary pressure on the creators. Had it not been for the casting director Andrea Romano, because Bruce Timm had somehow pitched this idea and he somehow got the go ahead for it, despite so many rejections, despite the success of Batman 1989 movie, okay, and Batman Returns movie. Andrea Romano, I was watching a documentary, and it turns out that what she would do was, whenever the team was working on these episodes, she would like lock the doors, and pull down the curtains so that if the executives are passing by, they just don't drop in, oh, we just were passing by and we wanted to see what you guys are doing. That's how much she was serious when it came to ensuring top notch quality for Bruce Timm's vision, ensuring that it gets executed picture perfect. These guys, I mean, like I, I don't know, man. I mean, like you just mentioned one thing really wonderful, that every time, once a year, you go back Turns movie. Andrea Romano, I was watching a documentary, and it turns out that what she would do was, whenever the team was working on these episodes, she would like lock the doors, and pull down the curtains so that if the executives are passing by, they just don't drop in, oh, we just were passing by and we wanted to see what you guys are doing. That's how much she was serious when it came to ensuring top notch quality for Bruce Timm's vision, ensuring that it gets executed picture perfect. These guys, I mean, like I, I don't know, man. I mean, like you just mentioned one thing really wonderful, that every time, once a year, you go back to the 90s series, you start with Batman the animated series, go all the way to Justice League. In my case, I just cannot let go of Batman Arkham series because of these, because they are part of it, because that feeling is there. It's just unbelievable, man, what these guys have created. And I think that this cannot be topped by anyone. Matt Reeves did an amazing job with the Cape Crusader. I loved that animated series. Bruce Timm is involved with that. But nothing comes close to
Nothing
Batman the
comes
Animated
close, man. And I will just add to that, Andrea Romano, she also did one of my my favorite castings of Will Friedle as Terry McGinnis slash Batman Beyond.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
famously, of course, he's the older brother, Eric Matthews on Boy Meets World. That was his very first voice acting job. And he had a very successful voice acting career after that. So kudos to her for making this.
Just remind everyone that Will Friedle was basically, he became popular from the famous Disney sitcom Boy Meets World.
Yes. Boy Meets World, but I feel like his voice acting career took off after Batman Beyond. Again, his very first job, hired by Andrea Romano. So kudos for her for making this fantastic decision of hiring Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, and Will Friedle, and many, many more.
Okay, so for those of you who are going to be in Jeddah on 19th of September, Friday, please make sure to join our group so that we can share the location with you. Okay, and we are going to be gathering at 5 p.m. as I've said, Mars Square, Starbucks, and we are going to be sharing some more stories, because this was a really important time in the history of Warner Brothers. Because it's not just about the Batman the Animated Series, it was also about things that were being built up. Just like I shared this reminder from Tiny Toons series, which paid a tremendous ode to Batman along as the main character, while Just Us League would be the side characters. And then you had the Batman the Animated Series, which led to Superman animated series and short-lived Wonder Woman animated series, and then succeeded by the best of all, Justice League animated series, which was pretty jacked up in terms of storytelling, in terms of all the action, in terms of portrayal of all our favorite DC characters, not just the DC Trinity. So, okay, now it's time for us to wrap up, but there is a very important announcement which is going to be part of our uh, content for Batman Day. September is the month of Batman. So, Son of Sparda, you have received something really amazing, something that is now part of your collection.
Something with wheel.
Well, you have to share the details.
Well, I have a 1/6 version, 1/6 scale version of the 1989 Batmobile. So I will possibly be bringing that with me. But in light of it also being the 30th anniversary, I was going to ask you, should we bring that? I have something that might be a little more appropriate. And it's not 1/6 scale, but it's pretty big. It's a large scale version of the animated series Batmobile. It's pretty big. I can't really put into scale.
Or you now have the Batman 1989 1/6 scale,
Yes.
and you also have the Batman the animated series.
Yes, that is not it's not 1/6 scale the animated series, but it's in scale with the DC Direct figurines. Those.
You have those both.
Yes. Well, I have the animated series with me. The 1/6 scale 89 Batmobile is in storage. I'm gonna have to look for it. I'm sure I could find it. But it's the animated series one is more accessible. I have it with me at home, so I can probably bring that one.
Well, since we are going to be talking about Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Batman the animated series 30th anniversary, so if you think it's easy to bring the Batman animated series Batmobile there, perfect. But if not, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to be doing an unboxing video of the 1989 Batmobile, and we will be showcasing Batman the animated series Batmobile along with it. So, but make sure that if you're a Batman fan, please join us in this gathering. We need to connect with one another at a personal level as well. If you feel like sharing some kind of a memorabilia, you have a rare comic, you have a signed poster, you just want to show it to the community, feel free to do that. If you want to come and dressed as Batman, perfect. You want to come dressed as Nightwing, perfect. Or simple Batman t-shirt, that's about it. That's more than
And
enough.
it's not. It's.
So
I just want to add. It's not just about us. We want to hear about your stories. If you guys have a favorite episode, if you have a favorite memorabilia item you want to bring along, and tell us about those things, we would love to hear those. It's always great to share stories with one another.
I totally agree with Son of Sparda, because by the end of the day, Superheroes of Arabia is a platform for all of us. It's not about me, it's not about Son of Sparda, it's about all of us. For too long, we have been living in the shadows. Okay, we weren't able to showcase our passion as openly as we can now.
Shadows.
And so, this is your opportunity to come and connect with like minded people, plain and simple. So, Son of Sparda, I think we have come to the conclusion of our live stream, and it's always a pleasure having you as part of our monthly transmission. Uh, really looking forward to meeting you on Friday, 19th of September at Imar Square Starbucks at 5 p.m.
Good.
Any last words before we end the transmission?
What was the famous saying that Kevin Conroy said and became a little legendary in one of the episodes? He says, "I think I am the night." What is the
Yes.
other part of that?
I am the night, am vengeance, I am
Batman. Such a cool piece of dialogue, and what a way for us to end. Yeah, hopefully we get to meet everyone and share some stories, and it's going to be a good time for everyone.
Thank you all for watching. And Superheroes of Arabia Live is broadcasted every month. And whatever we are showcasing is not a paid promotion here. Oh,
Got a guest appearance here.
Patton's Batman. Amazing, man. Amazing. So anything we are showcasing here is not a paid promotion. However, I am an Amazon affiliate. I often share links of products of DC and Marvel that are available on Amazon Saudi Arabia and Amazon UAE. So make sure you check them out. And we are really looking forward to meeting fellow Batman fans on 19th September. And don't forget to join our community. We are on WhatsApp, we are on Facebook, and we are on Discord as well as Instagram. So see you guys next month. And to those in Jeddah, we hope to see you all this coming Friday.